Bump for the cozy thread. This story isn't mine but from a guy I used to work with. Want to go party? Don't have driver's license yet. Bro says he'll take me there after shift, and to wait for him at Edith Moulton Park. Sweet head there. About 11 at night in July, waiting at the park. Waiting for bro to pick me up. All of a sudden feel cold, like really cold. Look around to see if anything is causing it, see fog all of a sudden in the park. Then hear leave only a whisper at first. Feel piercing stare coming from the fog. Leave now said again, but this time like it's being screamed. Just barely see a female form in the fog. Take off running back to home, wait for someone come home. He would later ask if his brother saw anything that night in the park, but he said he didn't see anything, not even the fog was there when he arrived. I'm in the same area. I hear there's places in Skagit Valley that are spooky. There's the mental hospital's cow farm in the Cedro area that has lots of satanic graffiti, but it wasn't that spooky. Went there on Halloween once and saw somebody had sacrificed a rabbit. Though it looked more like they just lured it with carrots and throttled it. The hospital itself is off limits. There's also Devil's Tower, and I heard people do satanic rituals and suicides out there, but it's a trespass zone. Yelm, Washington is the headquarters of the Ramtha religion led by Jay-Z Knight. She holds meetings with people to channel this Atlantean warrior, Ramtha. She's attracted the attention of a few celebrities. The only ones I know of are Linda Evans from Dynasty and Salma Hayek. Apparently both of them have residences in the area. Poor Salma was in the news a few years ago when her dog broke out and got shot by a neighbor. Anyways, Knight has a couple of businesses in the town, and there are members of her religion who live among the community and have families. Knight lives on a large property with a mansion and a big field for traveling members of her practice to make pilgrimage and set up camp. It's 2 blocks away from the high school. Members of her group are made to work for her, her organization, and her property, without monetary compensation. Hey/X/ not sure if this was in /X/ subject or not, but way back in the early 2000s and friend and I were at a pond near the Lake Stevens area. We were picking up and throwing stones into the pond when we picked a rather large one, and underneath we found weird cone-like hives. They were no bigger than your pinky nail and colored like a beehive that's been abandoned and left to rot. After a couple pokes to them, a albino-colored scorpion's tail-like thing emerged from one on the hive-like structures. Naturally we panicked and dropped it into the pond. Anyone know what it could have been? Pig-related is kind of what they looked like, but much smaller. I have a couple of stories from my mom's side of the family. Unfortunately they're, while weird, not that exciting. Be my dad in the 70s in eastern Washington. Be out late lighting smudge pots so the apples don't freeze. It's a cold, very clear night in the boonies. Look up at the stars and see a satellite making its way silently across the sky. It's a normal sight, and my dad likes aviation/aerospace shit, so he stops to watch it. Start to realize it's going fast even for a low orbit object. Stare as the object does a sharp U-turn and go back the way it came, all while continuing to accelerate. Find that weird, but make your way back to the house because it's cold and you're tired. Later my dad told a friend who worked at the nearby AF base what he saw. The guy gets sort of worried looking and says, satellites can't do that. I don't know what you saw, lol. Personally I just think our satellite tech was ahead of what we portrayed at time, and my dad saw something classified at the time. A trend we no doubt continue today with our tech. However, I don't know if to this day satellites can pull off sharp maneuvers like that at the speeds my dad described, so who knows. LOL. Endless if you are connected. Worked with William Puckett from UFO Hunters on a few major sighting cases here in the 360. Can't legally talk about it, but common knowledge is local governments contract out for strange happenings in government buildings/lands. Loads, and I mean loads of stuff on tribal land, Lumi. Do not go unless you are with a native local or with tribal police. I have mountains of evidence I will never share publicly. Time distortion, strange lights, people appearing/disappearing, an encounter we determined to be a banshee. Lights in forest, audible sounds, orbs, tribal employees quitting and having mental breakdowns while on the job from seeing stuff like Bigfoot standing in front of them staring. One of the things I personally never saw was Bigfoot. The guys in black, not men in black, dudes kit wearing all black with no insignia threatening everyone around major UAP sightings with groups of unmarked black helicopters, men in black afterward. Had 60% of the local border patrol all coming to me with different stories to get it off their chest without getting fired for obvious reasons if they came forward knowing I wouldn't throw them under the bus. Still haven't a decade later. It's a hotbed but you will get shut down fairly quickly going public. Did one interview with WWU newspaper well over a decade ago and it's been since all scraped from online. Only reason I'm even posting here is anonymity. It's pretty wild how much actually happens here. For sure, had to read over my case notes to refresh my memory. This happened December 14, 2012. The non-profit organization I worked with at the time, all volunteer work with pretty heavy training involved, was scouted out years before, was basically a local backstop for weird things when state and local government threw their hands up in frustration not knowing what to do. For example, not related to any case, state employees seeing something over and over that scares them causing them to quit or threaten to quit over, staff retention and morality issues. This particular instance was part of an ongoing case on tribal land concerning a young woman in a position of power who ended up in a mental health facility after a prolonged encounter to what she claimed was a Bigfoot. She was not native. A senior investigator with 25 years experience and mid-level position at this time, they only wanted experienced people on this case, returned to a spot on tribal land, with permission of elders/police, around 10 p.m., stopped at casino beforehand for coffee load up. As per usual, boring AF for hours with literally nothing happening, no thermal at this time, but had NVGs, 1080p cameras, audio recording devices, electronic measure instruments etc. Around 1 a.m., we had a separate weird thing happen coming from the west end of the road. We left to check it out. Can't talk about this, returned around 2:15 a.m. Nothing happening for another hour. We goofing around with jokes etc. Lead investigator mentions he thinks he sees someone slow walking toward us from the east side of road 0.5 to 0.75 miles away, clear night with 3/4 moon. Was concealed carrying at the time because weird stuff happens out there and white people are not really welcomed there, especially at night, for the tribal police and local warnings. We never had issues ever, but we were also helping people. Nothing on NVGs or cameras. 10 minutes later a dark figure is slow walking toward us with what seemed to be in a tattered white, almost glowing but not really, cloth around the upper torso with black hair covering upper body/face down to the breasts. Head appears, very hard to see, looking at the ground. Can't see any other clothing or feet really from blackness. Other dude points it out again, this time being closer I see it. Always looking around in 360 directions, truthfully thought it was a local coming to F with us. Still nothing on NVGs or cameras at all. Well, this doesn't make sense and rules locals out. It came to a stop and just stood there for 2 to 3 minutes around 3 yards from us. We had the high ground. Lead investigator was balls of steel kind of a dude. I respected him for this, and wanted to walk up to it. I didn't due to data collection. Eventually it, from what I can tell, raised its bony white-like arms up from under the shadow, cloak or actual shadow. Couldn't see its hands, above its head, and make the loudest screeching sound with 3 distinct patterns. I still have the recording, I've ever heard. I drew my piece, aimed at it, no way I would hit at the range it was, but made me feel better, and I shit you not, within a second of me doing this floated a few feet in the air off the ground, or at least looked like it. Hopscotch, Like Mario? Jumped to the other side of the road and floated into the forest. My partner ran after it. I hesitated, then said EFF it, grabbing the tripod equipment and following. We found zero evidence anywhere. Never saw it again. Only have the audio recordings as proof. Brought it to a close after meeting for the other investigations that was happening 2 to 3 days later. Someone higher up claimed to be a Banshee, a rare encounter. I personally had no idea at the time. That's the TLDR version. Why do you think tribal land has so many sightings? My thoughts a decade ago have changed. I've collected so much data since then. Nowadays, I believe there is a malevolent human organization that interferes in hotspots of weird things and is connected to one or more beings that we don't understand or are not being told about yet. It could be just sciences and understandings we either haven't discovered or are not advanced enough to process too. I don't think it's as black and white as this or that. Probably a combination of a few things. I believe natives have a stronger connection or understanding than what some sciences are and possibly latched onto these hotspots. I also have some more advanced theories I will only discuss in person. Like it would seemingly appear out of nowhere in front of them. This was a super rare occurrence, but I know for a fact one time it was captured on film. I saw it firsthand. Somehow, according to the higher UPS, the video along with a ton of evidence was corrupted. This caused a lot of internal turmoil. Which I know is BS because I kept secret copies of all my investigations and I know others did as well.
Mosey on down to the Atomic Shaman Trading Post. We have t-shirts, decals, refrigerator magnets and other swag for sale. What better way to show your support for the show? Our merch can only be found on t.pub/lit/Atomic Shaman Trading Post.
Saturdays for the boys. You can watch movies with the tribe on depleted uranium drive-in theater Saturday afternoons at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on Twitch TV.
Like, share and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to ring the notification bell. You can follow us on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Catch the live streams on Rumble. Listen to text-to-speech stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube.